Hey there. If you've ever felt guilty for needing rest, I want you to know God designed you for rest, my friend. Even He needed to rest on the seventh day of creation. And so we're talking about self care today, and true self care is not selfish and it's not indulgent either. It's actually about receiving the renewal that we need to be able to love and serve others well. So maybe you've tried some self-care. Maybe that phrase in itself, self-care, gives you the yucky feelings. It's okay. It might not feel like it's working. You might be trying to do all the things that feel like self-care, like resting, getting good sleep, taking a moment when you need to just binge watch some shows or lay on the couch or scroll on your phone. But maybe those don't really feel like enough. It's because rest is not just about sleep and it's not just about physically resting. It's about refreshing your body, yes, but also your mind and your soul in different ways. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what kind of rest you're missing and how to bring it into your life in a meaningful and faith-filled way. So we're going to talk about the 7 types of rest. There's not just one type of rest, physical rest, although that's the thing that I think most of us tend to think of first. There are 7 types of rest. So there is a good chance that you're maybe not feeling fulfilled in one of those areas. And usually it's about one or two that we're lacking in when we're feeling kind of drained. So I didn't come up with these 7 types of rest. I actually got that from this amazing book called Sacred Rest by Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith. She is a medical doctor who is a Christian, and she discovered that a lot of her patients were just chronically drained and burned out. And she wanted to figure out why. And long story short, she wrote this beautiful book about how there are actually 7 types of rest. And we need all of them. Every single one of us needs all of the types of rest, all of the types of self care. And so my job today is to teach you those 7 types of rest that she talks about in this book and help you figure out perhaps one or two of those areas of rest that you've been neglecting and you could really use some time nourishing. So, the first type of rest we're all pretty much familiar with is physical rest. That's resting your body through sleep, stillness, or even gentle movement. Now, for each of these areas of rest, there are active activities you can do in that rest. So, actually doing something that is more active to nourish that area. So, it's a little bit different concept of the word rest, right? And then there's passive areas of rest, which is probably what we're most familiar with, kind of not doing much, but still nourishing your soul. So, in each of these 7 categories, there are both passive rest examples I'll give you and active rest examples I'll give you. So, in physical rest, we can all think of passive rest examples pretty easily, right? Like sleeping, napping, even deep breathing is another example. Some active rest examples would be like stretching, gentle walks, restorative yoga. It's up to you how you feel about that as a Christian. There are other alternatives to yoga, though, of course. But exercise, right? Something that you're actively nourishing your physical self care, right? Like you have to do something to exercise your body, and you also have to rest. Those both are true. So, for the second category is mental rest. Mental rest defined as quieting the mind, reducing overstimulation. So, an example of passive rest might be silence, short breaks from work, turning off notifications on your phone. Examples of some active rest for mental rest might be journaling, brain dumps, intentional deep thinking on scripture, and reflecting. The third category is emotional rest. We define this as processing and releasing emotions rather than bottling them up or pushing them down. So, passive rest and emotional rest might look like talking to a trusted friend or spiritual director or praying about emotions, um, just taking the time to sort of feel them, but in a way that's helpful. And active rest might be something more like therapy or intentional prayer about emotions, like lamenting psalms or doing a Lectio Divina in the Psalms, where you can really actively process through some of those feelings. And then number 4 is social rest. So we define this as balancing draining versus restorative social interactions. So passive rest for social rest might be saying no to draining commitments. It might actually mean taking a step back from social interactions and getting time to yourself that you need. And active rest in this area would be obviously spending time with people. But to really make sure this is restorative, we want to spend time with uplifting, faith filled friends, right? Not the kind who take energy from us. Although we all have those people in our lives and we have to give them our energy at times. When you are feeling drained in this area already, not the time. Number 5, sensory rest. This is one that I don't think a lot of Catholics think of, but it is super important. The definition is giving your senses a break from overstimulation. So, passive rest might look like closing your eyes, just simply closing your eyes. You can do this during your workday, right? You can take 5 minutes to just close your eyes, dim the lights, reduce some noise if you can. You might have to put some earbuds in, cancel out those coworkers talking or whatever your environment looks like at work. Um, but sometimes we're just overstimulated and we need to give our senses a break. And active rest with sensory rest might be something like spending time in nature. That's a really grounding, beautiful way to give yourself some sensory rest, right? Because just, I don't know, how do you feel in nature? Usually don't feel, you might not like bugs, you might not be an outdoorsy person, that's totally fine. But when we're in the quiet, natural sounds, feeling the earth beneath our feet, breathing in the natural scent of the air, oh, it's just restorative, isn't it? And another example of active rest and sensory rest might be unplugging from screens, taking a break. I'm a big fan. I tell my clients all the time, turn that phone off at night, at least a couple hours before bed. Leave that phone at home once in a while. I do it too. So, not just telling you to do what I wouldn't do. So, the sixth area of rest is creative rest. Again, another area many of us don't really consider, but is totally important. So, we define creative rest as reawakening wonder, inspiration, and beauty. God created beauty for us to enjoy. So, passive rest in the creative rest area might look like listening to uplifting music. It might look like admiring art or even nature. Active rest and creative rest involves creating something. You are actually doing the creating. So it could be something like engaging in a hobby, painting, writing, gardening, cooking, even if you enjoy cooking, the culinary aspects and the creative aspects of cooking absolutely can be a part of creative rest. And then number 7 is spiritual rest, which you've probably thought about before, but a definition of spiritual rest is reconnecting with God and surrendering our burdens to Him. So, passive rest examples with spiritual rest would look like adoration, receiving the sacraments, praying the rosary. Active rest for spiritual rest might look like more meditative scripture readings like Lectio Divina, or even more personal prayer with Jesus, right? Really coming to him with all of your thoughts and feelings, your worries, and actively telling him about those things. More deep prayer. So just wanted to share, these are the 7 types of rest. So we've got physical, mental, emotional, social, sensory, creative, and spiritual rest. Those are the 7 areas of rest that we all need as Catholics to take good care of ourselves. And these are some examples of what passive rest looks like versus active rest in each of those areas. And so I just want to let you know that rest isn't just about what you stop doing, it's about what you add to your day too, kind of like Lent, right? We can take away things from our days that are getting in the way of our growth, but we can also add things to our days that fulfill us and restore us and give us the energy. That's really what it's all about. Self-care is really all about giving us the energy to do what God has called us to do each and every day. So I want you to just think about your challenge now is to think about which type of rest, based on what I've shared today, do you feel like you are in most need of right now? And I'd love for you to comment below the video and share if you feel called to do so. And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe for more videos on faith-filled mental and emotional well-being. Take good care.